Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla, and I'm a crisis counselor with New York Project Hope, and I'm presenting with my colleague, Paul. So we are a COVID-19 crisis counseling program funded through FEMA. We're a statewide initiative to help people cope with COVID due to the pandemic, and we are located at the Mental Health Association of Nassau County on 16 Main Street in Hempstead, New York. And I just wanted to start off and ask a question. Feel free to either unmute or raise your hand on Zoom. Have you ever experienced COVID fatigue? And so COVID fatigue is when we are feeling overwhelmed with the pandemic and the stresses that the pandemic has caused. And we just feel fatigued. Maybe we don't want to talk about COVID anymore. We don't want to hear it. I know from working with it every single day. And I know, as many of you might know, because you're frontline workers, that you are sick of hearing about COVID, and that as mandates become less strict, it might even cause more stress. So we just don't want to hear about it anymore. So has anybody experienced this before?
Well, I know I'm tired of it, definitely. Just it's too much, after so long, after all this time, after not knowing anything about it, and then just having to learn along the way. It's all so frustrating, every single part about it. So it's definitely relatable, and not just from the jobs, from hearing it every day going out, and every time I see a mask, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's this stuff again. And it's just it's definitely fatigue worthy.
Mm-hmm. I think it really just kind of like upset daily routines for like everyone, from young people to old people. And so I think everyone's just really tired of it, and we're looking to get back to normal, definitely.
So what are some ways that you both would combat that feeling of burnout, that fatigue?
Well, I try to do things to take care of myself, whether it's just physically or mentally. I don't want to say just like staying in, because like what kind of answer is that? But like, it's where I find my peace. Sometimes just staying in, watching a good show, or just watching the Yankees, or something I love to do, just anything self-care wise.
Yeah, personally, I do a lot of self-care as well. And that kind of looks like, making sure I get enough exercise, and also meditating in the morning, and journaling, and just kind of like being in tune with what I need to do to keep up with my mental health.
That's really great. Yeah. And so sometimes we can choose our priorities wisely. And like you said, self-care is really important to avoid that burnout. Taking little breaks, rewarding ourselves is really important. And sometimes we need to change up our routine, and when we realize that something isn't working for us anymore. And also realize what is causing this fatigue. Maybe you're overextending yourself, and you need to set boundaries in order to avoid burnout. So again, we're a statewide crisis counseling program to help New Yorkers navigate the changes caused by the pandemic. We go into many different types of communities in Nassau County to help people navigate the changes, and to help people move forward and cope with anxiety and stress that is caused by COVID-19. And again, we are one of the 4 agencies in Nassau County that host New York Project Hope, and we are funded through FEMA. And here's a slide about the different communities that we interact and support, and I'm going to pass this to Paul.
Thank you, Kayla. Yeah, so on the left picture there, that's us at a vaccination site. And the middle picture and the right picture, that's us at a kids mental health day. On the right, that's our counselor, Steve, and his dog, Hook. Hook is a therapy dog, and the kids love it. We go into schools with him. We go into senior homes with him, and the seniors just absolutely light up when they see the dog. We also go to food pantries, churches, colleges, anywhere where we can get our word out about what we do. And this is us at Nassau Community College at the day of service. We were just there, just like other nonprofits, just saying what we do, who we are, spreading awareness, just letting the students know that we're here. And we had a stress management through art as well. So these images you can see are done by the Achilles Project on Nassau Community Campus. That is a club for students with learning disabilities. And that reminds me of a community group that we're actually working on. We're trying to get our art group going for Saturdays. I'm not sure what time that would be. But these are two of our more popular groups, the Welcome Wellness on Wednesdays and Sundays, and Amigos Anonymous. The whole point of these groups is just to share your experiences with COVID, listen to other people's experiences, maybe compare, and work on, coping mechanisms and ways to get through all of that. We have these group meetings in person or over Zoom. I know some people like some people like the other, but we keep both just in case.
All right, thank you, Paul. So obviously over the past 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, people have been presented with many challenges because of COVID, and that has caused a range of different emotions. So I was just wondering if you feel comfortable sharing, unmute or write in the chat, a challenge and emotions that you felt throughout the pandemic.
I think anxiety has been a big one for me, just kind of like fear of the unknown and trying to navigate something that we haven't really experienced before. So anxiety has definitely been a big one for me.
Right. I mean, uncertainty just makes us feel nerve-wracked and like what could happen tomorrow and what variant could present itself next week. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm a very follow the science guy, and like I like to know what's going on, what's happening, what's going to be happening, and how things work. And for something so new to us, it leaves people like me in the dark, and that can make someone anxious, definitely.
Right. So you guys definitely nailed it on the head. I mean, it causes people to feel stressed, anxious, scared, isolated, angry, sad. And a few others that aren't on here that I can think of are powerless. I mean, we're left to feel powerless to what could happen tomorrow. It's out of our control. Do you guys have any other emotions that you'd want to add?
Fatigued, just fatigued. I'm over it. My mind is over it. I'm tired. Don't want to hear about it, but it's here and we have to deal with it.
Maybe acceptance, even you feel you're just accepting it at this point.
Yeah.
And these are all expected reactions to very difficult times. We're all experiencing this together for the first time, and it's a collective trauma that we're experiencing. So it's definitely valid to feel any of these emotions. And Paul?
All right. So through our program, whether that's our emotional support helpline, whether it's just seeing us in public, giving education, or it's an actual crisis counseling group, our first and foremost goal is to help the person understand their situation, because sometimes people don't even realize, how they're feeling or how to go about those feelings. So once we introduce the idea that, hey, you might be feeling something, or let's explore these a little bit, we're able to identify, label, and express those emotions. Once we identify those emotions, the person then can regain a sense of mastery and control. And that's important because when you feel like you can control your own actions and emotions and how you feel, you're able to make decisions, and those decisions can turn into actions. And actions such as coping strategies, just managing your stress in general, adjusting to the pandemic and losses, because again, sometimes you don't realize how hard those losses hit until you take the time to break down how you're feeling, how it affects you, not just mentally, but also, physically, the things you may need, community resources. We most definitely help connect people to community resources for physical things they may need. Like I said before, we work at food pantries, and food pantries is a big resource that we connect a lot of people to. And I mentioned our emotional support helpline before, right, Kayla?
Yeah, so the helpline, our emotional support helpline, is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. And this is the number. I can write it in the chat and also send everyone a copy of this after. It is just 9 to 5 for Nassau County residents. And then we also have the New York Project Hope State helpline open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And here's that number. And they're a great resource as well. However, they're not as knowledgeable about the local Nassau County resources. So this is definitely the number that we'd want you to connect with first. Okay. And then I just wanted to ask everyone a question. So how do you engage in self-care?
I think we kind of touched on this before. Paul and I both kind of spoke on this a little bit. But, you know, I think self-care looks differently for everyone, and it can look different on your day-to-day as well. Like I said before, I'm a very big like meditator, and like I love yoga. So like I do that kind of thing to kind of engage in self-care, but I think it can look different for everyone.
One thing I'd like to add about self-care is that it doesn't always have to be productive, like, you know, physically productive. It does, like at work or something. It doesn't have to necessarily move you along to a certain goal or anything like that. Just the fact that you're able to mentally relax and mentally unwind should be enough for you.
Mm-hmm. Right, Paul. And it's also not just about rewarding yourself. It's really taking responsibility for your own wellness. So that could look, like I said, mentioned before, setting boundaries. I mean, that's so important in order to keep ourselves well in a whole sense. And self-care is setting boundaries and doing things that will help you in the long run. So one example of that is square breathing. Has anyone ever done any type of breathing exercises to unwind when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed? You have, Alexa? Okay. So square breathing, it's really simple, but very helpful. So you just inhale for 4 seconds and then you hold for 4 and then you exhale for 4 and then rest and then just repeat as many times until you feel better. And according to the New York Project Hope website, deep breathing is one of the most convenient ways to relieve stress, anxiety, and even aid digestion, which I didn't even know before. So yeah, it's really good for just letting your body relax and get back to a calm state. And here's a grounding technique.
Yeah, this is one that I use quite often whenever I feel like my mind isn't quite where it should be. And it's the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. The first thing you do is look around the room and point out 5 things that you can see, followed by 4 things you could physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you could smell, and 1 thing you could taste. The taste one I like to have a little bit of fun with. It doesn't even have to be food. Like if I see a marker across the room, like I could definitely taste that marker if I wanted to. I probably wouldn't, but you know, I could taste it. But again, it's just something to get your mind into that right now mindset, getting you focused or getting you out of those thoughts or those emotions that may be weighing you down at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a really helpful one. Sometimes when I'm feeling even stressed in traffic, it's something where I can bring myself back to the present moment by just recognizing what's right in front of me, focusing on the present moment. And that really goes a long way. And also, I know we already talked about meditation, but it is definitely a very helpful method of self-care. Paul, do you want to get into that?
Yeah, definitely. We were talking about connecting the mind and the physical wellness together, and they really do go hand in hand. And meditation is a perfect way to kind of introduce those 2 sides of health to each other. 5 main reasons that New York Project Hope insists that you meditate. It understands your emotions. It'll help you lower your stress. It helps you connect better, improve your focus. Reduce brain chatter is the huge one for me because like for example before bed, right, like in those 20 minutes before I fall asleep, my mind is just everywhere and it doesn't even make sense sometimes. It's just chatter, but through meditation techniques I'm able to kind of tell my mind to calm down a little bit, not necessarily thinking about nothing but controlling what I think about and helping me relax in that way.
Right. And meditation, I know in this picture, she's kind of in a sitting position with her hands out. And, you know, meditation doesn't always have to look like that typical sense of meditation. It could just be you sitting in a chair at work on your break, your feet are on the ground, and you're really just getting in touch with your inner self. And I think that's really important to be able to do it anywhere when you need it.
Excellent point, Kayla. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all stereotypical where you close your eyes and have your hands in a certain position and crossing your legs. It's however you're comfortable for however long you need to do it for.
Okay, so now we're just going to move on to moving forward.
Right. So, yeah, so throughout the pandemic, it's very easy to just get consumed by all the negativity, everything that's happening. But in order to move forward, you have to look at the positives. Whether it's simply just surviving through the pandemic, that's a positive right there. Whether some people acquired a new skill or got certain things done, they set goals for themselves, or even just the increase in mental health awareness, just going around, maybe you've heard some new techniques about improving yourself in any way. So I'll ask you guys, what have you guys done to either help yourself move forward or anything positive that's come out of this pandemic?
I mean, I personally went back to school because it was offered remote and it wasn't ever before. So the COVID gave me an opportunity that I wouldn't have been able to have otherwise. So, I mean, I'm really grateful for that. So I think that being grateful for small things like that has helped me move forward.
Absolutely. And, I think that there was a super huge downside to being so isolated for so long. But at the same time, it gave me a lot of free time to write and engage creatively. And that really helped me.
Excellent, very nice. And it's also important to just look back and realize how far we've come. I feel like it's getting a little bit easier just to deal with everything more because I'm used to it. But it's always a good reminder to see how far you've come and where we're going.
Yeah, and I think that over the past 2 years, a lot of us have realized how both resilient and adaptive we really are to new situations, and that we're capable of more than what we thought we were. Okay. And then this is just our agency, the Mental Health Association of Nassau County's website. We have more information about the resources that our agency offers, and then also the New York Project Hope website. And there are some coping tips and relaxation strategies, some information about meditation, and some actually really cool games on there that I've played before. So, and that is it. And I just wanted to thank the Nassau County Medical Society for having us. And hopefully people can utilize our helpline and our program.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And I'm sure if anyone has any questions moving forward, they can reach you using that number there or your email below, correct?
Yeah.
Great.
Excellent.
Right.
And I want to directly thank everybody in the medical field as well. Throughout this whole pandemic, you guys have just been right there, literally on the front lines. The biggest heroes of them all. We can't thank you enough, really.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.